Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hari Hari, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayed Nasta Prayasya Bhadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to the Saturday's morning Bhagavatam lecture. Today we are reading from the third canto, chapter 9, Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy, text 36. Kyatoham bhavatatvadyam durvijeyopidehinam yanmam tvam manyase yuktam bhutendriya gunatmabhi yatoham bhavatatvadyam durvijeyopidehinam yan mam tvam manyase yuktam bhutendriya gunatmabhi yato mam bhavatatvadyam durvegyopidehinam yan mam tvam manyase yuktam bhutendriya gunatmabhi yatomham bhavatatvadyam durvigeyopidehinam yanmam tvam manyase yuktam dendriya gunatmabhi yatoham bhavatatvadyam durvigeyopidehinam Yanmam tvam manase yuktam Buddhendriya gunatmabi Yatoham bhavatattvadya Mamam tvam manyase yuktam Bhutendriya gunatmabi. Swamiji? Yatoham bhavatattvadya Durviyeyo pidehinam Yalmam tvam manyase yuktam Bhutendriya gunatmabi. Ladies? Yatoham bhavatattvadya Durviyeyo pidehinam Yalmam tvam manyase yuktam Bhutendriya gunatmabi. Okay, translation. Word to word. Jnanataha. No. Aham. Myself. Bhavata. By you. Tu. But. Adya. Today. Do. Difficult. Vigyeya. To be known. Api. In spite of. Dehinam. For the conditioned soul. Yat. Because. Mam. Me. Fam. You. Manyase. Understand. Ayuktam. Without being made of. Bhuta. Material elements. Indriya. Material senses. Guna. Material modes. Atmabhi. And false ego. Like the conditioned soul. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although I am not easily knowable by the conditioned soul, you have known me today because you know that my personality is not constituted of anything material, and specifically not of the 5 gross and 3 subtle elements. Purport. Knowledge of the absolute truth does not necessitate negation of the material manifestation, but understanding of spiritual existence as it is. To think that because material existence is realized in forms, therefore spiritual existence must be formless, is only a negative material conception of spirit. The real spiritual conception is that spiritual form is not material form. Brahma appreciated the eternal form of the Lord in that way, and the personality of Godhead approved of Brahma's spiritual conception. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord condemned the material conception of Krishna's body, which arises because he is apparently present like a man. The Lord may appear in any form, may appear in any of his many spiritual forms, but he is not materially composed, nor has he any difference between body and self. That is the way of conceiving the spiritual form of the Lord. Translation once again. Although I am not easily knowable by the conditioned soul, you have known me today because you know that my personality is not constituted of anything material, and specifically not of the 5 gross and 3 subtle elements. So this is a very, very nice verse, which is giving very deep philosophical understandings of our Gaudiya Vedanta philosophy. Even though the purport is seems quite simple, it is simple and concise and short, still it's revealing very, very pivotal points that every Vaishnava has to understand thoroughly and practice them in his own life and explain them to everybody else who doesn't know them. Like, for example, here we are seeing how Prabhupada is explaining that the negative conception of spirit, which actually many people have nowadays, many ignorant people have, it's not valid because it sprouts from a speculative mind, from a defective perspective, which is a material perspective. How can the Supreme Absolute Truth lack form if the very definition of Supreme is that there is no lack there? How can the material creation, which is created by the Supreme Poet, the Supreme Artist, be more complete than the artist itself? It doesn't make sense. It's incorrect. And we see in our world that form is superior, is always superior. Everybody is looking for beauty in the world. Beauty we find in people's appearance, like Arjunananda is a very, very beautiful young man. Of course, we're looking for beauty in the opposite gender especially, but not only. We're finding beauty in nature, in the animals, in the trees, and these are all forms created by the Supreme Intelligence of Krishna. So it would be quite silly to consider that the Supreme is formless, isn't it? Just by using a simple logic. But the Supreme is, as we know from the famous prayers of Brahmaji, from the Brahma Samhita, he is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He is the Supreme transcendence with the body which is full with eternity, which is full with bliss, eternity, and knowledge. And everything that is there is sprouting from his energies. He is the supreme cause of all the causes, and he is causeless himself. He is Atmarama, he is Svarat, he is self-sufficient and complete. So both forms and both formlessness is created by the Lord. But apparently this is not so easy to understand, because the Lord is explaining in the Gita and in many other places in the Vedic scriptures that attachment, this is because of gross attachment to our material bodies. Prabhupada is speaking many times about the scientists with profound of knowledge, the Buddhas that only know some mediocre sense gratification, that only know some mental jugglery, some mental speculation. They cannot understand the transcendental form of the Lord because they are taking their own personal understanding, which is connected with the material world, basically. Here it is said that Krishna was satisfied in the translation because Brahma understood him to be something different than the gross and subtle material elements. So this is the understanding that everybody has to be looking forward to acquire, that God, he has a form and a body, but his form and body is not like ours. Just like the frog that was staying in the well that couldn't understand his neighbor who went and witnessed the Atlantic Ocean. He couldn't understand that it's not 3 times his own well, but it's immense. In this way, the people who are materially engrossed, they cannot understand it because they are attached to their bodies, and they're used to perceive this limited reality, this limited three-dimensional reality, which is not this material world. The middle planetary system in which we are living is not even the complete material creation. What to speak of the demigods? They're even perceiving even more than us. They have even a better understanding of reality. Just like, what can a cockroach understand? A cockroach that is crawling in a skyscraper, what can it understand of the whole dimension of the skyscraper? It's just crawling in the basement somewhere and has no idea of skyscrapers of such a great height. In this way, all these materialistic speculation and conceptions, they are offensive, actually. That's why they are condemned by Srila Prabhupada. So it is a Vaishnava's quality to appreciate what he doesn't understand. This is our approach. Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is 90% common sense and 10% inconceivable. So whatever we find inconceivable, we admire and we appreciate. And how do we understand it? Because everybody is looking for complete understanding. It can be understood even to a bigger extent, but obviously not by material means, not by just material reasoning. Let me see what I wrote here. Yeah, the real perspective, second point I wanted to discuss here, the verse is that the real perspective is that we're perceiving this world. The perception that we're having of this world is illusory because of our polluted consciousness, basically. We are seeing reality in a defective or perverted manner. Just like we have the example of the Bhagavatam, exchanging something for something else, finding a rope on the street, and one can see a rope from the distance, and he can easily mistaken it to be a snake, for example. So if one sees a snake nearby, he might get frightened. Oh, it's a snake! But what is actually there is just an old rope thrown on the street. And in this way, the conditioned living entity is exchanging reality to be something else. What is this main misunderstanding? This is that I am the enjoyer, and everything that falls in my field, in my sight, is meant for my sense gratification. This is the difference between material consciousness and Krishna consciousness. This is what we're trying to do as a spiritual practitioners. We are trying to shift our consciousness. This is the proper definition of illusion, because there is also the misunderstanding that illusion means that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, that Brahman is the supreme truth, but then Jagat, that the material world, is false. But actually, there is nothing false in the creation of the Lord, in the sense that it is real. What is false is our misconception. Just like in a mirage, one can see the illusion of a water reservoir. This doesn't mean that water and a water lake and whatever is fake, but it means that he is exchanging something that is non-existent for something that is existing. Therefore, we call it illusory. That's the real definition of illusion. And like I was saying before, in order to understand the form of the Lord, in order to get rid of this misconception, we have the supreme process of bhakti. And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is specified, Atashi Krishna Nama Adi Nabhavet Grahyam Indriyai Sevon Mukhe Hijivadao Svayam Eva Shporati Adaha. No one can understand the transcendental nature of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, quality, and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. 1.2 to 234 Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, as I was already explaining, we cannot appreciate the Lord and his energies through material reasoning or just empirical evidence, which is kind of very, very mediocre. But we can only understand and approach the absolute truth by rendering devotional service. And we are very fortunate, actually, because by the causeless mercy of Radha Govinda, we've been given the opportunity to do this. We already know what we're supposed to do. We just have to do it. Especially here in the temple, we are very fortunate because we are engaged directly into the five most potent angas of bhakti, the five most potent devotional services, like associating directly with devotees every day, constantly, living in a holy place already. Every temple is a holy tirtha. It's an expansion of the holy Dham. And listening, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, which is non different from Krishna, or Bhagavad Gita, hearing the purports of the pure devotee that was here just some time ago, just how many, 50, 60 years. It's like one devotee was saying, it's like for the Christians, Jesus, Prabhupada is for us, our Jesus. Imagine if the Christians had, when they had Jesus, 100 years, who lived 100 years before them, they were in ecstasy, they were in constant ecstasy, I imagine. And that's why we find many devotees are still so much in ecstasy. Disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they're so saturated from his association. So what else? Three angas. What were the other two? Chanting the holy name. And the last one? Worshipping the deity, yes. Sundar Chaitanya Prabhu is happily worshipping the deities every day. He's very satisfied. And not only in the temple, devotees can have home deities. This is also very, very potent service that is keeping the Krishna in the center, in the household, is keeping us clean, because there are some rules that we have to take shower and that we have to brush our teeth or cook in a very nice environment, which is not just grossly clean but also subtly clean. So that's why these 5 processes are very very potent, and we shouldn't be taking this for granted, as it happens sometimes. At least I can say from my experience, because this is a great mercy that is given to us. So we should try to keep this meditation, that every day I'm waking up and I have to be grateful for this opportunity that is being given to me to render devotional service, with which I can actually have complete knowledge of Sambandha Gyan, of who I am, what is my relationship, and what is the supreme goal. Only in this way we can understand. Only by serving Krishna through his devotees, through the senior devotees that are connected with the Guru Parampara. And of course, on the other side, also everybody has his own talents, which are gifted to us, not just to enjoy and to live the life, but they are given to us in order to be engaged in devotional service. It's difficult to believe, actually. What? I'm a singer and my voice is meant to just glorify the names and forms and qualities of Krishna? Really? It's difficult to believe, actually, many times. I'm a cook, therefore I have to cook only what Krishna wants. I don't have to use onion and garlic and mushrooms, which are so tasty, or soy. Really, it's difficult to believe. But then when we engage in the process, when we associate with the devotees, when we read the scriptures, and we can actually have the direct realization. Pratyakshavaga myam dharmyam susukam kartam avyayam. Arjunananda Prabhu, he's always so susukam. He's not just sukam, he's always super happy. Yes, very good example. It works. He had the realization because he's been engaged in the 5 angas of bhakti for so many years. And everybody can. No consideration of creed, caste, group, ethnicity, gender. In front of Radha Govinda, we're all the same. Yes. And so everybody has to endeavor to understand this, to understand that even the air that he's breathing is a gift by Krishna. Even the life that he's experiencing is allowed by the potency of Krishna. And everybody has to perform some kind of austerity and constantly push himself in order to make progress in spiritual life. Because even if one want to have success in material life, even successful materialists, even they understand this point, and even they try to push themselves. But what is the result of their work? Shama eva hi kevalam. The greatest, the famous, the most famous man, the richest. And then one day, what happens? Cancer, Parkinson's disease, COVID, old age, not so pretty anymore. And then death, whatever you had, vanishes like this. Whatever you had in your tiny little cubicle, whatever you have acquired for so many years with hard work, your family, and then what happens? The country nearby attacks your city, bombs your skyscraper, and then everything is finished. No more family, no more relationships, no more money, no more food, everything finished. So we have to apply the same principle. But in spiritual life, in this way, we will never lose. Even if we fall down, we will never lose, because devotional service is so great that even the smallest endeavor, even the smallest intention can save us from the greatest danger. Padam padam yat vipadam. Because in the material world, there is always danger. It's always so much trouble. Body is giving us so much pain. So we have to meditate on this concept, that we have to always try to get out of our comfort zone. Because this is the tendency. This is the tendency of the material mind, to always be complacent, to stay in our little tamagun in the corner. I'm fine, Prabhu. Don't push me. I'm doing enough. No, it's never enough. We have to do more. Every day we have to try to stretch ourselves. Not too much, not too little. That's why yoga means balance also. We have to find the balance. Not too much eating, not too less. Not too too much sense gratification. And in this way, miracles will start happening in our life. When Krishna sees that we're making one step, then he will make 10 steps, as Prabhupada states. Otherwise, what is the use of human life? This is a gift that is given to us. So rare, 8,400,000 species of life, among which human life is the gateway, is the portal to perfection, to eternal, blissful, knowledgeable life. If we don't utilize it, then what is the use of our human form of life? We just throw it to the garbage. So this is what I wanted to say. If there are some comments, questions, corrections. Yeah, and a little bit pessimistic. I had to say something more positive.
Matanga Prabhu, he was very optimistic. How pessimistic is the situation in the material world? Thank you very much. I wanted to ask, you are explaining that our goal is to rather forget about the service of our senses and try to serve only to the senses of Krishna, Govinda. So in one case, the situation is no service for our senses, but rather service for Krishna. What about if we are in the middle? We at the same time want to serve our senses and the sense of Krishna, both. It's okay, it's favorable for bhakti.
If we want to serve both our senses and the senses of Krishna, is it okay? For what? For what end? My question. What were we trying to achieve?
Well, we understand that perfection is to 100% surrender yourself to Krishna, but if we are not in this position, then what? Do we have any chance, or we will have to go and burn in hell forever?
Yeah, my understanding is that when one takes up devotional service, then he starts doing little bit, means serving little bit the senses of Krishna, and a lot his senses, and then gradually it increases. The devotional service amplifies, means that we start spending more time serving the senses of Krishna than our senses. And we cannot, of course, we cannot make a drastic, unhealthy twist of faith that, okay, from tomorrow I'm just, pure devotee. There has to be a gradual transitioning, but ultimately the platform that we're trying to achieve is Jnana Karma Dhyanavritam. Our devotional service has to be completely pure of personal conceptions of karma, jnana, yoga, desire for mystic power, desire for philosophical understanding, desire for fruits of our work. So this means that if we are somewhere in the middle, we are still serving our senses and looking forward to get something for ourselves, means that we are still having a mercantile mentality, which won't give us the ultimate realization. It's still good, but one shouldn't be resting on that platform of sometimes serving Krishna, sometimes serving his senses. And ultimately, serving Krishna means serving your own senses also, because it is like pouring water to the roots of the plant. So if you're serving your roots, you're serving yourself automatically. But there is a fine line. That's why devotional service, it's a mystical process. And what else I wanted to say? Just had it on my mind. That, okay, it disappeared.
So if I go and I serve my boss in some company, he'll give me money. If I'm serving Krishna, is he going to take care of me? Is he going to give me money? Is he going to give me food?
Krishna? Yes. You can do Python yoga. We have the example in Bhagavatam. You can just lie outside like a bum and everything will come. You just think about Krishna. Not recommended in Kali Yuga, Matanga Prabhu SB. Just like Prabhupada says, human form of life, you're working like an ass, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours? Really? The elephant in the jungle is not working and he's getting supplied tons of vegetables and mangoes and fruits and whatever. Every animal is being supplied, every living entity, without any, of course they have to struggle, but human form of life, super intelligent form of life, why do you have to struggle? I mean, devotees also work, but it's not the same thing. So human form of life is meant for spiritual activities. And then Prabhupada said also, do something nice for Krishna, then something else, everything else will come. It's not that we try to adjust first our material situation and then whatever remains of time we will give to Krishna, some devotional service. No, it's the complete opposite, because matter comes from spirit. This is the main misunderstanding. Not that spirit comes from matter. So if we put the spirit in place, if we fulfill our spiritual duties, that's why we are raising up early in the morning and beginning our day with Mangalarati ceremony and chanting 16 rounds. Because if one just does this and has faith, then everything else will come. Doesn't matter if he's Grihastha, Brahmachari, or Vanaprastha, or Sannyasi. This is the simple truth. It's so simple that it's so hard to believe, apparently. You want to comment something else? Do you agree with me?
I totally agree with you. I was also thinking that definitely Krishna will take care of us. And no matter what kind of life we are having, at least he will give us some minimum facilities.
Yeah.
But if we properly perform our duties, then he will reciprocate even more.
Yeah.
because you're doing what you're supposed to do. When we are doing what we are supposed to do, then proper remuneration will come.
Yeah.
Krishna will take care of us.
Yeah. Otherwise, if one is not performing his duty, there is that verse in the Gita, one will create only disturbance for himself and for society. Very dangerous. So everybody has to work according to his own guna and karma. Okay, something else? We have 4 more minutes. Yes, Arjuna Prabhu.
In the beginning, you were saying that
Close.
God is one who doesn't lack anything. So
Mhm.
if Brahma or if all of us have form, how can God be a person who can lack something which we have? Right? We
Mhm.
cannot lack anything. But also we see there are some things such as envy or lust, pride, illusion, etc. So many other not so good qualities. So do you attribute or do you say that these are the characteristics of God also? Because God should not lack anything. So because this can be another logical argument.
Yes. Yeah, my understanding is a very valid question. My understanding of this is that just like there is the sun, there is light, and there is darkness. So darkness is absence of light. So in the same way, when there is absence of Krishna, there is darkness. And darkness is all these negative qualities, envy, anger, and so forth. So whenever we turn away from Krishna, our original consciousness and our original nature is being covered and spoiled by darkness.
But just for logical
Yeah.
argument sake, so people can say because in this world we experience misery through the body, so body is like the darkness.
Mhm.
So when we surrender to Krishna, who is formless, then we also become formless. So actually, there's no form. Form is just another, you can say, a bad attribute, just like any other bad attributes. So if you say use the logic that how can God lack anything, then he can. If you say lust is it's because of absence of God or absence of spirit or absence of truth or sat, then you can also say form is also same, is actually absence of true knowledge. But when you come to the path of enlightenment, then there is no form. Same argument.
Well, and then we can say, okay, the form of your house is also a problem. So let's remove the form of your house. And you can have a very, very nice formless household life. It will be very nice. Huh? So not always form is something negative. Like all these qualities that you were mentioning, and Matanga Prabhu very nicely explained that in the material sphere of life, they are negative qualities, but originally they are not negative.
Yeah.
What's the problem of being greedy? We want to be
Krishna
greedy.
is also greedy. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to be greedy, but
Krishna is also lusty.
for the right thing. We want to be greedy for service for Krishna. We want to be greedy for association with the Vaishnavas. We want to be greedy for
Laulia.
prasadam. Yes, greediness is not a problem, but when you are greedy for the wrong things, then it's a problem. To be angry for the right cause, to defend the Vaishnavas, to defend Krishna's cause, Krishna's philosophy is not bad. So in this way, all these qualities, if they are used in a proper way, they are useful. But it takes expert guidance so that we can use these qualities in a proper way. Otherwise, we are trying just not to use them because we have experience only with their negative side. But under the expert guidance of the spiritual master, even those qualities, they can be used in the service of Krishna. Like in the Nectar of Devotion, it is mentioned that we have to become very greedy to achieve the association with Krishna, service of Krishna. And this is the price that we have to pay to enter the spiritual world. It's called Laulam Lala Samai. Without this, we cannot enter the spiritual world.
Yeah. And then another thing that came to my mind, I don't know if it's a valid argument, but Prabhupada states many times that we are having a relationship, and this is the highest thing in our life. The highest source of pleasure comes from different relationships, from the rasa that we are deriving. And you can have a relationship with another living entity that has a form, basically. But the conception of the Mayavaris is that no, I want to extinguish my existence, or the Shunyavaris. I want to extinguish my existence because everything here gives pain. All these forms and relationships, they give pain. But the natural constitutional position of the soul, dharma, is to have a relationship. And one can only have a relationship with a living entity that has a form. Even in the material conception, nobody will be like, oh, it's my favorite cloud. So cute. Or nobody will say, oh, I came to New York and there was this beautiful fog. I'm gonna sit there and paint the fog. You know, it's so nice. It's common sense that formlessness is something inferior to form. What do you think, Arjunji? Okay, we'll end it here. Thank you very much for your kind attention and challenging questions. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Radha Shyam Prabhu ki. Radha Maharaj ki.